Today we're going to dissect one of, I think, the most hated topics of technique, not just for cellists, but for string players in general, and that is how to connect the bow at the heel without any unwanted accents. If you mention bow change at the heel to any group of string players, you will usually encounter sort of look of dread and horror, because it's something which most of us just prefer not to even think about, but we have to. So let's get into that a little bit. I can tell you that when I first started playing the cello, and all the way really through my time as a student through college, I would regularly watch my teachers do, connect the bow, and I would see all these movements here in the hand, the wrist, the fingers, and it just looked so intricate, so complicated. And the more I tried to replicate exactly what I saw, frankly, I think the worse it got. And that really, I think it was something which I, sometimes it would work, and sometimes it wouldn't. And it's also one of those topics where if you ask 100 different people, you will get 100 different answers. So today I'm really going to talk you through what eventually worked for me. After I'd finished studying, left college, and already started working, I remember speaking to this one day, to a fantastic, very dear colleague of mine, who just said to me, how do you do bow change at the heel? You do absolutely nothing. I was like, okay, what do you mean? You just go left, you go right. It's like, whoa, okay. I think that was probably by that point the best bow change I'd ever done. So as time went on, and as I started experimenting with that and sort of tried to work on that with my own students, so I tried to analyze a little bit more what was actually going on and what really happens in the bow change. And I think what I'm going to be telling you today is much more everything we don't need to do rather than everything we do need to do. So let's look at what actually happens when we play. Who is in charge, first of all? The management here is not in our hand. Yeah, we're always talking about the left hand and the right hand, but really we play with our arms, and this is incredibly important. We play with our arms. So the management, the board level, as I always call it, really is very high up here in the upper arm. That draws the bow. That's where our strength is, because we utilize our back muscles. And that brings the bow back in, and eventually that also initiates the change of direction. The change of bow direction is not initiated by the hand, it is initiated up here, because that's the bulkiest part of the arm that needs to change direction first. Now, how do we get from that to everything that is happening down here? And this is really where you do absolutely nothing comes in, which is of course much easier said than done, because everything you see below the elbow is very very much a passive movement. That is not an active movement. So when I change the bow, I'm not thinking about I have to do this with my wrist, I have to do that with my fingers. Not at all. And I give you a very simple example. If you think, for instance, when you jump, you think I want to jump from here to there, and you do it. You don't particularly think about what your knee has to do, what your ankle has to do, what your toes have to do. That's not something you contemplate in any way, shape or form. They are just naturally, they're supple and they cushion our movement. And that's exactly what happens when we're changing the bow as well. The only thing here, because changing the bow is not a second nature to us as, you know, jumping or running or walking. So here we have to concentrate on actually releasing that wrist, releasing the knuckles, making sure they're just as supple as possible. One way I explain that to my students is if you think of seaweed. Yeah, if you're somewhere on the beach and you see the seaweed is just, it's being moved this way and that way by the tide. Yeah, so that has the seaweed has no will of its own really about, you know, which direction it wants to move. It gets moved to wherever, you know, the tide takes us. And your arm here is very much the tide, and everything below here, that's the seaweed. Yeah. You're going there. You just, the less you do, the more you'll find that you'll get a really, really nice, smooth bow change. Now, of course, that is much easier said than done. That only comes after lots and lots and lots of open string work, where you constantly examine really what does my hand, is my bow hold loose, what does my hand feel like, are my knuckles tight, my wrist, am I moving through the elbow? So you really have to first of all learn to have that level of awareness of really every single element and how free or otherwise that feels. It's something you have to be quite patient with, but the more time you really spend just being very, very aware of what your arm feels like and whether you're holding any excess tension, the more progress you will make. And then when you come here, I would really urge you, take your focus away from the hand and to your upper arm. Imagine that you're doing your bow change up here. Keep moving, 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 moving. And your upper arm changes the bow. And you see, I didn't think one notch about my hand. My hand was just nice and supple, and it reacted. And that's really what you're trying. That's really what you're trying to achieve. And out of all the various, you know, ideas and methods on how to change the bow, that's really the one so far that has worked by far the best for me, and I hope that it'll work for you. As ever, if you have any questions about that, just post it in the comments below, and I'll get back to you. And if this video was helpful to you, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel. There are lots more videos coming daily now, and I would be really happy to see you again soon.